time when you see her in a group of other women, she's like everyone like us, talking about things, about children. She's got 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. And as a mother, she will be concerned about their education, their health, and their overall way of life. But when it comes at discussing issues that affect our country, you can see that she doesn't change, but she's got strong beliefs of a true unity of the Rwandan people, which is based through proper democracy and true reconciliation of the Rwandan people. She's a very firm believer of governments recognizing people's potential, putting people first, that people don't live in fear, that people are not oppressed.
We gaan direct in dialoog organiseren tussen de verschillende groepen, tussen de Hutus en Tutsis, en op verschillende niveaus, dat we elkaar eens zijn wie komt op macht en op welke manier en hoe gaan we delen die plaats in de stadsrichting. En op deze manier denk ik dat iedereen zou accepteren dat hij is vertegenwoordigd in het recht.
Victoire en Lynn kregen in Nederland nog een zoon, Ries. Hij is 7. Hij weet dat zijn moeder over een paar maanden al vertrekt. Even een vraag aan jou. Wat gaat je moeder nou doen? Gaat ze naar Rwanda, weet je daar iets van?
Ja.
Wat gaat ze doen?
Veilig maken.
Oké. En is dat een goed idee?
Ja.
Ja? Maar wat wil ze precies doen? Veilig maken? Hoe dan?
Dat er geen oorlog meer komt.
Oké. En hoe gaat ze dat doen, weet je dat?
Nee.
Ze wil president worden?
Ja.
Ja, dat weet je wel. En wil jij dan ook naar Rwanda of wil je hier blijven?
Hier.
Ja? Want is het hier beter dan in Rwanda?
Ja.
Waarom dan?
Want u daar kan sterven.
I knew that Victoire was a woman of determination and dedication, and she loved her people. She made a very tough decision of going back to Rwanda, a country that has very small rule of law, a country that is ruled in fear, and a country where justice is not provided for all.
If RPF, which is the ruling party for President Kagame, sees you being independent of it, they see you as a negative journalist, as a person who is worth dead.
What freedoms are you teaching me?
All the basic freedoms don't exist. When you find there's no freedom of association, there's no freedom of speech, there's no justice system to talk about. So now it is the turn of the military running outside, the military being imprisoned in the country. So everybody can see that it's not really directed towards one ethnic group. It is now general.
But I guess the question I still am trying to probe is whether there can be space for political opposition in President Paul Kagame's Rwanda.
Oh, yes,
and
that's
so
why...
far, it seems that it's very tough. Let's take Victoire Ingabire.
Before we leave that.
My job has not been to create oppositions. That's not my job. It has never been my job.
The newer opposition parties that have been formed in the last year or two have one by one been silenced or otherwise excluded from the race. And individuals, so not only politicians but even journalists, for example, and other Rwandans who may have views different from those of the government, have found themselves at the receiving end of what has become quite a violent campaign of intimidation.
The true opposition was not allowed to register or was arrested. You can look at one of the leaders of the opposition, Victoire Ingabire, was arrested. The other leader is Bernard Ntaganda. He's in prison, and there are allegations that he was tortured. The other one, Habineza, who used to be a member of the RPF, the president's political party. His deputy was killed, and people allege that President Kagame is behind those killings.
She's also a threat to the Kagame regime in that if there was ever a free and fair election in the country of Rwanda and Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza ran against Paul Kagame, that she would win against him.
Kagame assumed the presidency in 2000, but has been in de facto power since his rebel army swept to power in 1994.
Kagame awarded himself 93% of the vote.
But can you really be proud of this victory when you really had weak opposition that seemed to be very sympathetic towards the RPF anyway?
Well, I'm not responsible for the weak opposition. If the opposition is weak, it's because they are weak.
These journalists, these human rights activists, these masqueraders, they should not speak for you. Speak for yourself. So every day, oh, progress, but what? Why don't you go and answer your own but where you belong? Why do you come to us? Go and answer the but. When I see you, even for me, I stand here and say, oh, you are developed. You have lessons you teach others, but...
There's growing international concern about Rwanda. Over the past 2 months, there's been a series of attacks on government critics, both at home and abroad. In June, the exiled former head of the Rwandan army, General Kayumba Nyamwasa, was shot in the stomach in Johannesburg. He survived and accused President Kagame of ordering the shooting. 6 days later, a journalist investigating that attack was shot dead outside his home in Kigali. He claimed he had evidence the Rwandan government was behind the attempt on the general's life. Then 3 weeks ago, the body of Andre Kagwa-Risereka, an opposition politician, was found almost decapitated near the southern town of Butare.
The Metropolitan Police have taken the extraordinary step of warning 2 British citizens from Rwanda living in London that they're at risk of being assassinated by the Rwandan government. Legal notices were sent to a former Lib Dem candidate, Rene Mugenzi, and Jonathan Musonera. We've spoken with both men.
The controversy concerns the government of this man, Paul Kagame, who's taken some credit for unifying the country after a terrible civil war between the Hutu and Tutsi tribes.
This is the Minister for Human Rights.
But Rene Mugenzi doesn't see it this way. He's a British citizen who settled here in 1997. Both he and his wife have stood for local elections, such as their commitment to life in Britain. Rene arranged a meeting last year with Amnesty International to remember this massacre in 1995. He says human rights groups have evidence that this one was perpetrated by forces loyal to President Kagame.
The army of Rwandan Patriotic Army came and then shoot them unarmed civilians, and the UN peacekeeper were looking at this. About 80,000 people died.
So 8,000 people died? Yes. On the 12th of May, the Metropolitan Police sent this letter to Rene, warning that the Rwandan government poses an imminent threat to your life.
They told me they've got credible and reliable information that I might be in danger. The government of Rwanda might kill me. And they told me, as I'm aware that they have done it in another country, I should be careful.
Another warning letter was sent to the man on the left, a former Rwandan army officer who fought alongside Paul Kagame in the 1990s. He now lives in London.
I was scared because they told me, the Rwandan government, they tried to finish your life, and I was shocked.
We've been rather dazzled by this in Rwanda, that there is worsening repression, that rivals are being killed, there's a climate of fear, and we continue to give £83 million a year to this country in aid. Can we justify that?
Well, I think it's a dilemma, and I think it is a mistake we've made in the past, where we have tended to give, if you like, respect to individuals, when what we should be doing is building institutions that rise above any particular individual or political party or focus.
But who is that individual? Is that the president of Rwanda that we saw with David Cameron?
Clearly, the president of Rwanda is in a very powerful position.
This nonsense from outside is occupying our space. This nonsense from outside. These teachers of political space, these teachers of press freedom, these so-called teachers of freedoms. Some people just come from nowhere, useless people. I see every time in the pictures, you know, some lady, and the world starts saying, the opposition leader. Well, I know those who say it and who support that.
There is no justice in Rwanda. There is no democracy in Rwanda. People are not free to say what they think.
People are saying is that the goalpost keeps shifting, that the level playing field doesn't exist. Well, let's take Victoire Ingabire. Now, she's the president of the FDU in Ngiri, and she says she's faced a very intense public campaign of vilification. Basically, you have openly warned her that she could face prosecution under Rwanda's genocide ideology laws.
No, but you see,
and people are saying that you use those to quash political opposition.
I don't think it's just an insult to us or to the nation.
It's very ethnic. It's a very ethnic reading of the laws in Rwanda, because obviously using a genocide ideology law, since the genocide was against the Tutsi, would mean that you're trying to silence the Hutu. That's basically what it means.
When we were accused of genocide ideology, we were terrified. It's not an easy thing to be accused of this, as you can be persecuted, even imprisoned.
Gertrude Nyampinga says her human rights group was accused of genocide ideology for exposing election irregularities. More than half her colleagues fled abroad.
I would say we live under a regime that doesn't favour freedom of expression. The authorities don't like criticism, so when people do criticise, they become afraid that they'll be threatened or persecuted. It's not a good idea to speak out.
Many Hutus were killed alongside Tutsis during the genocide and in revenge attacks afterwards. But if you talk too much about that history, or suggest that Hutus and Tutsis might sometimes have different interests now, you can be accused of dividing the population and of the crime of genocide ideology. Victoire Ingabire is a would-be presidential candidate, a Hutu, who's been called in several times by the police to answer that charge. She believes that she represents a silent majority.
Jusqu'aujourd'hui, on n'a pas encore atteint la réconciliation du peuple rwandais.
There has not been reconciliation amongst the Rwandan people. To achieve that, everyone must be able to express themselves freely. Everyone must be able to talk about what they've suffered. The government cannot tell people how to behave or what to say.
Le gouvernement dicte aux gens la conduite.
So let me talk about Ingabire. Ingabire came to Rwanda. He was not in Rwanda even during the genocide. He's been away from Rwanda for 17 years. He arrives, he comes, first of all, he asks for a travel document, a passport. The government gave him a passport. She comes to Rwanda, she wants to contest. The very day she arrived, she starts talking about double genocide. She starts saying, oh, this genocide of, you know, the Tutsis, but there was also a genocide of Hutus. And now, of course, if you incite, if you are denying genocide, if you are trying to create...
Is that what you're saying she's doing?
That's what she's doing. And I'm saying those who defend him, or defend her, this woman of the other party, may find one day they've been defending a wrong person.
The dark shadow of Rwanda's genocide lingers as fresh allegations of mass murder are leveled at the Rwandan government. The charges come in a draft UN report which is set to be released at the start of October. According to the leaked document, armed groups, including army soldiers, killed, quote, tens of thousands of Hutu refugees.
Kagame government is scared of Victoire because of Victoire Ingabire Umuhoza, because of the message that she carries. She is demanding accountability. And accountability and an end to impunity is a big problem because the RPF has committed a lot of crimes.
Democracy. We need no lessons about anything.
Une décharge contre moi, c'est que j'avais dit justement que le jour même quand je suis arrivée au Rwanda, j'ai déclaré qu'on est loin de la réconciliation, aussi longtemps que justement les crimes commis par certains militaires des FPR ne sont pas punis. Alors voilà aujourd'hui qu'il y a le rapport qui confirme ce que moi j'avais dit. Donc je ne veux pas dire que je suis divisionniste ou que je dénie le génocide contre les Tutsis, mais il y a la réalité qui est là et que tout le monde doit comprendre et accepter tel qu'il est.
A UN report has accused the Rwandan army of mass rapes and the massacre of thousands of Hutus who fled the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo after the 1994 genocide in Rwanda.
I want to press you on this. I want to press you on this because a new UN report accuses you of committing appalling atrocities across the border in the DRC. So is the UN wrong?
The UN has nothing to say about genocide or about Rwanda. They should just keep quiet. In fact, they can't be the ones to, you know, ever accuse anybody for failure or for different things in Rwanda.
The DRC mapping report recounts almost 600 incidents of very serious violations. It may point to the commission of crimes such as war crimes, because the laws of war forbid the killing of civilians. It points to crimes against humanity, and in some instances may well amount to genocide.
La réalité est là, il y a plus d'1 million de personnes assassinées dans la République démocratique du Congo à cause de la guerre d'agression du Rwanda. Ça, c'est une responsabilité que le général Kagame et son armée doivent assumer.
This is about Congo. Africa's world war, millions of people have been killed there, mostly out of sight. And many say that Paul Kagame's troops bear a lot of the responsibility, that you sent the troops into there to keep back the Hutus and the extremists, you know, and more than 5 million have been killed.
Do you know the history of Congo?
Yes.
The problems of Congo are more than 60 years old.
That's true. That's true.
Let's not.
But this started in 1998.
No, the problem started before I was born. We had Leopold. You
I
know
understand
the story
all of
you
that,
had.
and all of the colonialism.
So why do people keep all that quiet, lock it up, and then start saying the problems of Congo, it is the Kagame,
Right.
it's the troops, it's...
Mr. President,
it has nothing to do with
this is
me,
a
it has
man
nothing to do with the
close
government.
to you, providing hundreds of thousands of dollars to Laurent and Kunda, and you sit here and tell me that this is lies and fabrication.
No, I'm saying it is possible, and I don't care, and it has nothing to do with me.
You don't care?
No,
You're the
I
president of Rwanda. You say you want stability in your neighbour. the Congo.
Yes.
And then you say you don't care if senior figures in Rwanda are providing hundreds of thousands of dollars of support to a rebel leader.
Because even you yourself are putting things out of context.
We now have Rwanda being presented as a development success story, and I think some of the donor governments, such as the UK, the US and the others, want to take some credit for that. The result has been, indeed, that these governments have turned a blind eye sometimes to the serious human rights violations taking place, and the silence on their part has effectively encouraged the Rwandan government to continue with this kind of behaviour, knowing that it's unlikely to face international criticism.
The process of law has to be respected. Victoire Ingabire came and wanted to become a presidential candidate. That's fine. Wanted to form a party. That's fine. And there are two things. One, you want to form a party. There is a process. She failed on what the party stands for. The party stands for division of the country along ethnic lines that have created problems in the past.
Je vais d'abord faire comprendre les choses, que ce procès qu'on est tenté contre moi, c'est un procès politique, ce n'est pas un procès criminel, parce que je suis accusée d'être divisionniste. Pour nous, nous voyons bien que là où le régime des FPR voit le divisionnisme, pour nous, c'est le pluralisme politique. Il faut accepter la diversité de notre société et voir comment l'exploiter positivement. C'est le seul moyen de mettre fin aux violences cycliques dans notre pays. Je suis accusée d'avoir une idéologie génocidaire, c'est un crime et que tout opposant est accusé. Mais pour nous, là où le régime de Kagame voit l'idéologie génocidaire, pour nous, c'est plutôt le devoir de mémoire, et la reconnaissance de toutes les victimes, parce que nous pensons que c'est le seul moyen d'arriver à une réconciliation effective dans notre pays.
But before even that, the issue was, what is this person? Who is she? What? And the record is very clear. This woman has been working with terrorists that have been based in the Congo, the FDLR.
Alors, je suis aussi accusée d'être en contact, de collaborer ou de financer une organisation terroriste, les FDLR. Alors, il y a une chose là que je ne comprends pas, parce que le régime des FPR demande aux membres des FDLR de déposer les armes et de rentrer au Rwanda, qu'ils seront intégrés. Alors, si le FPR est prêt à intégrer ce qu'il considère comme les terroristes, je ne vois pas pourquoi aujourd'hui je suis poursuivi pour terroriste ou être en collaboration avec les terroristes, même si ces accusations ne sont pas fondées, parce que jusqu'à aujourd'hui, ils n'ont pas encore prouvé quoi que ce soit. Pour moi, je pense que c'est un montage qu'ils sont en train de faire pour absolument freiner mes activités politiques.
Let's get then to the core of this for the benefit of our viewers, and let's be a bit more specific about individuals. Victoire Ingabire,
fine.
Yes. In this instance, she's confined to the capital. She can't leave. She's facing charges of denying genocide.
She should actually be in prison.
Afterwards, Ingabire was arrested and imprisoned.
She stands accused of crimes. And
like what?
Several crimes.
Like what?
Crimes that links her to terrorist groups like FDLR, crimes that link her to sectarianism.
Beneath the surface, there has been very, very strong and worsening repression going on. So we have rivals have been jailed and in some cases killed. Freedom has been restricted. People talk for being scared to say anything there. There is a climate of fear within the country there.
Dutch Ambassador Frans Mokken greets opposition leader Victoire Ingabire in her cell. It's an exceptional visit. Normally, he doesn't have access to her. He's accompanied by members of a Rotterdam-based human rights group.
En hier zit u dan?
Ja, hier zitten. Oké, voel je je veilig hier?
Veilig. Nee, zolang ik ben in de handen van de regering, denk ik dat ze kon helemaal niks doen. Dat daar nemen ze de verantwoording. Maar veilig, bijvoorbeeld zie je de grassen zijn hier maar donker geverfd.
Waarom is dat?
Ja, dat ik gewoon niet naar buiten kijken of mensen naar mij kijken. Dus dat betekent hier dat moet de lampen aan. Als er geen stroom is, dan zit ik even van de donker de hele dag.
This treatment of prisoners by the Kagame regime is not particularly unique. There have been people who have been charged or who have not been charged who have been kept for years in Kagame's prisons, and tens of thousands of them. So that the idea that people have a presumption of guilt rather than a presumption of innocence in Rwanda's prisons does not apply just to Victoire Ingabire.
Enig idee hoe lang u hier nog zit?
Nee, de procureur heeft gevraagd dat ik blijf gewoon de rest van mijn leven.
De rest van je leven?
Ja.
Hoe lang zit zij nog in die cel daar?
Ik denk dat het afhangt van de steun die Kagame heeft van de westerse wereld. Als nu de westerse wereld eindelijk eens ziet dat Kagame gewoon iemand is die in Den Haag thuis hoort. Om zich te verantwoorden voor bombardementen op vluchtelingenkampen, uitmoorden van zijn tegenstanders. Maar dan ook echt met vrouwen en kinderen tegelijk. Daar zijn rapporten door de VN over geschreven, dus wat moet ik nog zeggen? Hij hoort hier gewoon in Den Haag thuis. En Victoire daar.
Oké, andere dingen. Dag. Groetjes aan de mensen in Nederland, hè? Ja.
Unfortunately, it's a situation where the United States, in its effort to support the Rwandan regime, has misled the American people, including me, including Ingabire, including the rest of the world, with respect to the nature of the Rwandan regime. And it's that misleading of the world and of the American people that is really disconcerting about this, because it's meant that a regime that clearly is as dictatorial as a Mubarak or a Gaddafi or any other regime that we can think of that jails its opponents is operating with complete U.S. support in Africa, and the American people don't know it.
When I look at what is happening to her today, her being in prison, but still having her feet on the ground, firmly still holding on what she believed, of the unity of the Rwandan people, forged through true reconciliation and true democracy, I lift my heart for her, and I call upon women of the world and many Rwandan women to always remember her words, that she went home back to Rwanda, she understood the obstacles, but she said, please carry on where we will or where we may fall. And this is the words of a strong leader, a determined leader, and an icon of true democracy.
Many people do say that Victoire Ingabire Muhoza is the Aung San Suu Kyi of Rwanda. There are a lot of commonalities. I am good friends with Burmese activists that are based here in the US, and a lot of parallels. They're both women. They're both running or challenging military dictatorships that are genocidal, that both go out to refugee camps and wipe out the refugee population, including children and women. They both have been jailed for their views. They both espouse democracy and allowing the people to choose their leaders.
President Paul Kagame would be in front of me, I would first of all ask him, why does he feel so much Why does he feel threatened by my mother? If he's a right person, my mom wants to do right by the citizens of Rwanda. She has no harm in mind. So why is he so much against her? If he wants the right thing, that's the question I would ask him, and to tell him just to think about that and to act on it.
Well, the protest is underway right now on Forbes Avenue across from University Center on the campus of Carnegie Mellon University. Traffic nearby, the Rwandan president speaks inside the University Center. Many of these people say they survived the 1994 genocide.
Rwandan expats are planning to protest in Perth today. As Madeline Jenner reports, those protesting say Rwanda is at risk of becoming...
In France, around 25 media rights campaigners have been arrested outside the Paris hotel of Rwandan President Paul Kagame. Police began removing the demonstrators who staged a sit-down protest denouncing press freedom in Rwanda.
Dozens of protesters gathered outside of the foreign ministry in Madrid, dripping in fake blood and holding signs with Kagame's picture labeled as a war criminal.
Thank you. You are the most welcome.
mugomba kwirwanaho buri munyarwanda umuhutu umutwe umututsi yewe n'umwimukira waje gutura mu Rwanda akamenya ko ugomba kwirwanaho agatuma amategeko amurengera.
I'm not an employee of Human Rights Watch. I don't know who they are. I don't care who they are. About Amnesty International, I've never gone to them for help. I don't give a damn what they say, what they do is none of my business. That other American thing, I don't know what it is. So it doesn't waste my time.